Hi, this is Angela Skirtu, and this is another video in my Infidelity series for my book that's coming out, which is Helping Couples Overcome Infidelity. It's available on Amazon, January 28th, 2018. So, today I want to talk to you about having conversations around the infidelity. After an infidelity occurs, a lot of people have big and intense conversations, some that have good endings and some that are big, big colossal failures. And so I just want to talk to you about the difference between the good conversation and a bad conversation and a strategy for making those conversations work just a little bit better. So the bad conversation kind of looks like this. It's very accusatory questions like, why did you do that? What's wrong with you? Why would you do this? What's going on with, so it's really like there's definitely judgment. There's an undercurrent in the questions, and it basically backs the partner into a corner. And then, of course, the partner responds very defensively. Well, I did this. Why do you ask that? Why can't you get over this? What's wrong? So there'll either be questions or they'll be attempting to answer, but none of the answers make sense or they don't matter anyways. And the partner who's asking the questions just feels more and more hurt, and then they get angry and frustrated. So essentially, it's this big circular conversation that goes nowhere and leaves both partners feeling terrible at the end of it. We want to avoid that conversation because it just doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. It makes you both feel like crap. So what's the good conversation look like? It's still painful. It's still a painful conversation, but it's a little bit more non-judgmental. Both partners are trying to stay relatively even keel. One person's asking questions like, so when did you first start talking to him? And where did you guys go? And when did you meet up? How did you find ways to... So those are the more of the neutral, open-ended questions, but really just to find some information out. And the answers are still painful, but the person is answering them and trying to be honest, trying to remember back, but it's very neutral. Now, when the information comes out, it's still going to hurt the partner who's asking those questions. Usually this is the person. So the person who's been cheated on usually is the one who asks the questions because they're trying to get details about the infidelity. So what'll happen is as they get new information, it's painful. Every piece of information is kind of like a dagger to the heart. And so one of the things that you can do is stop every now and then and just let the person kind of feel the grief and the hurt around that and be there for each other. And the partner who's answering can say, hey, we can stop for a bit. What's going on? Or do you need anything from me? I'm here for you. Or even just offer like a hug or holding hand or space, whatever it is the person needs. But you really need to take those conversations slow. That's why it's good to come to a therapist, because sometimes I can see when that's happening and I can be the one to stop the situation in a respectful way, because that's the hard thing is once somebody's committed an affair, anything they do can look suspicious or like they don't care. Like there's so many underneath meanings that every one of their words suddenly has that it never had before. That's part of why it's easy to get into those defensive conversations. So anyhow, one of the ways that you guys can work together to have these better conversations is to structure them up a little bit. So every time I start with a client, I have them create a time every day or every other day where they're going to sit down and have one of these conversations. And why we do it is that you're usually already having the conversations all day anyway. So this is just a means to stop it at some point. So I usually suggest people do it every day or every other day for about 30 minutes to an hour, but then really stop. And the reason is there's several reasons. On the one hand, if you start in the conversation and it turns into one of those defensive circular conversations, then at least there's an end and you're going to put it to bed and come back later. So there's a purposeful ending to it and an intention around coming back to it later when you're in a better emotional place. So that's one thing that's helpful about it. But a second thing that's helpful about it is that it's really taxing, emotionally taxing to have these conversations all day, constantly. And so a lot of what you need is just a break, both of you, both the person who had the affair and both the person who is trying to sort through all these open-ended feelings, is that sometimes you just need to stop and cut it and take time for some self-care. So by limiting it, you know you're going to talk again tomorrow, but it gives people a way to compartmentalize the issue so they can go to work, take care of their kids, deal with things that are going on in their day-to-day life. And it just tends to work better than trying to press through all that information. And the hard thing is this new stuff will come out. You're not going to get through it all in a day. So I'd encourage you guys to do structured conversations if you're struggling with all those defensive ones, but also pay close attention to where you're emotionally at. And if you are getting very emotionally heightened, then you need to stop those conversations at some point so you can actually have reasonable conversations with each other. So this is Angela Skirtu, and if you need help, it's www.therapistinstlouis.com. Thank you very much.